welcome to George and Willy's world again for a wonderful treat. We have all kinds of things planned for you today. But before we get there, my name is Mrs. Mapes, and this is Willy and Mrs. Krantz.
Hi.
And George. Welcome back. I'm glad you're back. I haven't seen you for a couple weeks.
That's right.
Haven't seen you boys and girls for a couple weeks too, but I'm glad we're back together today. What have you been doing over the last couple weeks, Mrs. Krantz?
Well, George and I have been going to Alta Sierra School. We have 2 more weeks of her reading with the 1st and 2nd graders and 2 more weeks of her working at the library on Wednesday afternoons, and then we're going to take a little vacation break.
2 weeks? They go to school for 2 more weeks?
Yes.
Oh, our school here in Grass Valley is only this Friday.
Oh.
So we're out by this Friday. So
Yes.
she has more work to do.
That's right.
Speaking of work and jobs, today our activity, our program is based on jobs and all the different jobs in the community. There are so many jobs in the community. And we're going to talk about some of those important jobs today. I'm a teacher. My other job is a teacher. And I like to go and do my job every day. And some of the other people that make my job easier, there is the school secretary that you probably know at your school.
Right.
And we also have school custodians who clean up after all of our classrooms and the children after lunch and after school. We also have school, the principal, and teacher's assistants. I like to call them teacher's assistants. They're also called aides, and they help the teacher in the classroom. And those are just a few people in the school that make the school run smoothly. But every place there is a job, many people help to make it run smoothly. What are some of the things that you've done where some of the jobs you have, maybe right now, jobs for taking George to the school? That's one of your jobs. So one of your jobs is taking care of George.
That's right. Taking care of George. But I've had many jobs.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in college, I was a waitress to help pay for some of my college
And what's a
funds.
waitress?
A waitress serves food to people at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun. And I also worked in the dorm in the helping serve food. And then I've had other jobs. I've been a social worker, and a social worker helps families. I help some people find jobs and help them with their children in school and with getting medical help, and that was an interesting job. I've been a Head Start teacher.
Wow.
And that is a teacher for little children. I had 3- and 4-year-olds, and that was probably one of my favorite jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But most of my life, I was a real estate broker, and that job, I helped people find the home that they wanted to live in. So that was very satisfying, looking at a lot of houses, and it's very exciting when someone finds the one that they really want to live in.
And there are so many jobs in our community, and we've had so many of them on our program. We've had the fire marshal and a policeman, and one of our Head Start people, and right next door the Imaginarium, other teachers. Oh, there have been so many people on our show that have jobs, artists. So today we have a very special guest who has a very interesting job, and this job is at our local hospital. And his name is Mr. Martin. Welcome to our show, Mr. Martin.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So come and have a seat and
Okay.
join us
I
and
don't want to
step
step on
over.
Willy here.
Just step over him. He'll be fine.
He doesn't bite, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's a very good dog. He just came to my classroom today. He loves the children.
I brought a hospital hat for you
Oh,
and a hospital hat for Helen.
oh, good.
These are special hats that people that work in the hospital wear.
I'll wear mine.
Yeah. Well, now you look like a nurse or a doctor. Ready to
One
operate.
more job that I haven't ever been a nurse or doctor, but I used to play that when I was a child. I had a little bag full of nurse equipment that my parents got me when I was younger, and I used to play nurse.
It takes more than a bag to be a nurse.
I know it does, but I got to use my imagination.
That's good. It's very important, imagination.
Yeah, so what are some things? Tell us you have a very interesting name of your job. I love that.
Well, I do. I'm a florist, spelled with 2 O's, because I take care of the floors. And as you know, floors are very important.
Yes.
Imagine where we would be without floors. Where would we be without floors?
Well, we would be walking on air, I think.
We'd be out in the jungle someplace.
Yes.
Now, are you going to ask me about this?
Yes, I was thinking that was a hat at first,
Please
but
do.
it's not a hat.
No, it's not a hat. This is what, when I work in certain places in the hospital, I put this on my face like this, because you know what they have in hospitals that aren't so good?
I think, but would you please tell the children at home what they are?
Germs.
Yes.
They have germs in the hospital, and sometimes we have to wear a mask like this so that the germs don't get inside our mouths.
Because if they get inside your nose, because it's covered your nose and your mouth, then you can get sick.
That's right. And then I wouldn't be working in the hospital. I'd be a patient in the hospital.
And another thing is when you clean the floors with your hands and you touch your hands on your...
Look what I have here. Look what I have. I have gloves. See, we have to wear these special gloves like that. Here, you can put that one on there.
Okay. I'll put it on my hand that I can put it on.
This is so that if we touch things, we can pick them up and the germs don't get on our hands. And you see what I have on my feet? Can we get a close-up of the feet there? See, I have those.
And he has tennis shoes underneath.
Little booties on the feet,
shoes.
and that keeps the germs from getting on my shoes.
So you could take it into your home after you left your job at the hospital. You could actually bring the germs into your home if you didn't wear those booties.
Now, do you have many germs here?
I hope not.
So I can take this off, can I?
I think so, but I want to let the boys and girls at home see your hat.
Oh, yeah.
He's a dog lover, I can tell.
You've got to get a close-up of the hat. See the pictures of those dogs right there? Look at all those dogs.
And they look like puppy dogs. I see a golden retriever one right there, and there's all kinds of different ones.
Oh,
That's pretty good.
Those are out of focus a little bit.
Yeah, but they still look like little dogs.
Okay. Well, dogs go out of focus
yes,
every once in a while. So now I'm going to put this up here because my mouth works better when I don't have that on there.
And the name was a florist.
But then or a doctor of Floorosophy.
Doctor of Floorosophy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I command a lot of respect over there.
Yes, you do.
As a certain specialist kind of a doctor.
But when you go in for when people go in for an operation of all ages, they can be boys, girls, adults, and when I just went in for my operation, it's very important everything is clean, especially the floors, because germs spread and they'll get inside wherever they cut you to fix it. So it's very important. You have a very important job.
Oh, it's extremely, you know, you probably have a florist here too who does important work here also. But in the hospital, it's even more important because hospitals have to be very, very, very clean. You cannot have anything dirty on the floors. And you know, when we walk on floors, our shoes bring in dirt sometimes from the outside, and they scuff up floors and things like that. So we've got to keep those floors really on top.
Well, good. So you have 2 stories, Mr. Martin, that you're going to read to us. They are about jobs and different kinds of jobs, and we haven't even started talking about all the different kinds of jobs that we have in our community. One very important job that we haven't talked about, though, is being a mom and a dad. And I want you to know that being a good mom and a good dad are very important jobs because they help take care of you. So when we read these, we want everyone to know that not only do we have jobs in our community, but we have jobs at home too. And everyone has to do a good job at their home. So you have 2 stories. What are your stories going to be about today?
Well, this one is about a lot of different kinds of jobs. And I'm going to read this one. And then the second book is about a man who works in the post office, and he loves his job a lot.
That would be a fun job.
But the first one is about all the different kinds of jobs, and when you get bigger, you have to decide what your job is going to be. And that's what this little book is all about.
Okay, well, boys and girls at home, are you ready to listen? Are you ready to listen,
Yes.
Mrs. Kranz? George and Willie, are you ready to listen? Okay, we're ready.
You know, I don't think Willy's listening here, but
There he is.
Willy doesn't need a job anyway, does he?
No, he's got a lot of jobs to take care of me and make me feel better at home too. 'Cause he's
Okay, well, let's get started here. The name of the book is Maybe You Should Fly a Jet, Maybe You Should Be a Vet by Theo Lessig. Want to be a ticket taker? Want to be a pizza maker? Lobster man, jockey, TV fixer, ballet dancer, or soda mixer? Oh, do you want to be an astronaut? Everyone wants to be that. Or keeper of the zoo. You've got to do something. What do you want to do? Tailor, you could be a sailor, or a nailer, or a jailer. Oh, that's a tough job. You've got to be someone sooner or later. How about a wrestler? You wouldn't make a good wrestler. A writer, you could be a writer, or a waiter. How about a dentist? How about a florist? How about a forester working in a forest without floors?
I have friends that do all of those jobs.
Oh, I bet. Mm-hmm. Do you wish to be an oil refiner, a diamond miner, a dress designer? How about a paper hanger? How about a bass drum banger? Boom, boom, boom. Do you want to do your work outdoors? Do you want to work inside? Would you like to be a plumber, a policeman, or a bride? Would you rather work in a mountain town or in the desert, lower down? You could be a pet shop owner, a money loaner. How about a slide tromboner? How about a perfume smeller? How about a fortune teller? Ooh. You could be a turkey farmer. You could be a teacher. You already are a teacher, right?
I am.
Oh, I was.
We're all teachers.
You could be a lot of things. How about a preacher? You could be a clown or a coffee perker. How about an iron worker? A fireman, a tireman, a telephone wireman. Some girls make good picture framers. Some girls even make good lion tamers. Ah, those are some tough girls, I'll tell you. Some guys make good tightrope walkers. Other guys are better talkers. Maybe you should fly a jet. Maybe you should be a vet and work with these doggies. How about a deep sea diver? How about a beehive hiver? Would you like to be an actor? Or would you like to run a tractor? Would you like to drive a taxi cab? That's fun. Mm-hmm. Or run a big computer lab? Ooh, you got to be smart to do that. A tennis pro, an optometrist, a hockey pro. Those guys are tough. Podiatrist, a chemist, a lepidopterist. I bet you thought I couldn't pronounce that word, didn't you?
What is a lepidopterist?
That's somebody who studies butterflies. A glass blower, a mushroom grower. How about a fishbone boner or a roller coaster owner? That'd be fun. Would you sooner be a ballooner or a grand piano tuner? Olympic champion, mountain guide. It's not easy to decide. You've got to be someone. You can't just be a doodler. You could be a sculptor or perhaps a noodler. You might be a mystery guy. Would you like to be a spy? Maybe you should be a vester, a jester, or a hammock tester. Maybe you should be a voice. Someday you must make a choice. Maybe you should be a voice. When you find out what a voice is, you can tell us what your choice is. Yay!
Well, I was wondering what a voice was. I almost asked, what's a voice?
I was too. I'm still wondering what a voice is. I think we've been foisted off on this whole situation here. I think it maybe has something to do with the dogs.
Maybe. There are so many different choices you can be when you grow up, and that isn't even starting the list of things you can be when you grow up.
I think a dog can be a voice though, right?
Maybe.
When they grow up.
Voice.
And what's your second book?
My second book is called Mr. Griggs's Work. And Mr. Griggs is a fine old man who's had a career working in the post office.
Oh, I did.
And he loves his job very much. But we need to read the book and find out what happened.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? So I'm going to open up the book, and hopefully it'll appear on your screen. It's not on the screen. What are we going to do?
You just get started, and it'll come up.
Oh, really? It'll come up, you think so?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, there it is. Mr. Griggs's Work by Cynthia Rylant, illustrated by Julie Downing. Some great pictures in this book.
Oh, boy.
And some very fine dialogue. Here we go. Mr. Griggs worked at the old post office. He was pretty old himself. There he is, working at the post office, an American post office too. Mm-hmm. He had spent millions of minutes of his long life shuffling through letters, watching the pictures on the stamps change, punching his first-class puncher, weighing fat brown boxes, and listening to long tales about the letter that never got there. Oh, no. There he is working. Mr. Griggs loved his job. He thought about it almost all the time, even in the bathtub. Now and then, Mr. Griggs would be washing up his supper dishes when he'd start thinking about the fruitcake Mrs. McTackett had sent her sister 15 Christmases ago. Well, look, it ended up in the South Pole. Mm-hmm. That fruitcake had never arrived, and in the middle of his dishes, Mr. Griggs would wonder, where is that fruitcake anyway? Did I mess up? Some nights he'd lie in bed wondering how much it would cost to mail a 1-pound package to New Zealand or a 3-ounce letter to Taiwan. It was hard not to get up in the middle of the night and go find out. And at times, he just couldn't help himself. Even when he went for a quiet walk in the woods, Mr. Griggs couldn't stop thinking about his work. When a blue jay zipped over his head, he'd think, express mail. When a squirrel darted up a tree with an acorn in its mouth, he'd think, special delivery. The little holes in a rotten maple tree would remind him of his mailboxes. He couldn't even look at a chipmunk without remembering the chipmunk stamp of 1978. But Mr. Griggs didn't mind. He loved his work. One day, Mr. Griggs became sick. His head ached and his stomach hurt, and he lay in bed all day long. It was the first time he'd ever been too sick to go to work, and now someone else was just taking care of his post office. Someone else was sorting through Mr. Griggs's letters. Someone else was putting pennies and nickels in Mr. Griggs's drawer. Someone else was taping up the corners of one of Mr. Griggs's ragged parcels. Someone else. Oh. Someone else was doing Mr. Griggs's work. Poor old Mr. Griggs felt like a dead letter. Almost had to go to the hospital. But the next day, his headache was gone and his stomach was much better. Hallelujah. Looks pretty happy there, doesn't he? Ironing his clothes. He was still tired, though, and because he was moving slower than usual, he was a little late for work. When he finally showed up at the old building, in front of it stood Mrs. Emma Bradshaw, Box 98, Mr. Frank Shrewsbury and his son Junior, Box 171, Miss Sue Ann Huckabee, Box 10, and young Bobby Bricker, Box 21. Mr. Griggs was so glad to be back that he shook hands with them all and nearly squeezed the dickens out of young Bobby. Then he unlocked the door of his beloved post office. He settled himself behind his little window, and to Miss Huckabee, who was first in line, he said almost gleefully, "First class or parcel post?" He ran his fingers over his old letter scale. He sniffed at his stamp drawer. He lined up his meters and punchers, and he glanced lovingly at all the brass mailboxes lining the walls. In all the world that day, there was nothing finer than Mr. Griggs's work. He was perfect at his job. That's the end.
Wow, that was very good. Boys and girls at home, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm going to have you stay right there, and I'm going to show the boys and girls some crafts that they can do. So I'm going to get up here and move around, switch a little bit. I'm going to start with some hats very quickly. And one thing about crafts and using your imagination is you can change who you want to be from one moment to another. So I'm going to stop being a hospital person, and I'm going to be a baker. So what I've done here is make a few hats, and I've just drawn a picture of what I want to be and put it on a strip of hard type of paper. And we've got a few hats here. We've got, if you want to be a fireman, I've made a hat and stapled it to this strip. Now, boys and girls at home, have your parents hear me say this, because when I staple it so the little hooks go on the outside. That way it won't stick in your hair and catch. So I'll let you be.
That's a good idea.
Yes, so you make it so the hooks go on the outside. I hope that fits you. Oh, good. There's a couple other hats. Here's a hat that we can make if you want to be a cowboy. And I'm going to just put one, and again, I'm making it so the hook goes outside. If you want to be a cowboy and wrap it around, notice how those edges of the hat go out. It really looks like you're wearing a hat. And here's another one that I started, but I didn't finish it. If you want to be a pirate, maybe you'd like to be a pirate. And finish coloring it, which I'm not going to do right now. We have another activity over here that you've probably already seen, and this is match the job together. You look for a person, And then what job, what materials or supplies would that person need? Well, this is a fireman. So I'm going to look all around and look for something a fireman might need. I bet you found it, a hose to put out fires. Here's another person. That is a pilot. Pilot? Let's see if we can find something that a pilot who, yes, right there, an airplane. And this person doesn't have the hat on, but it's a baker. What does a baker need to cook? I hope I can find it. I'm looking. This one's got me tricked. Is it a grocery down? Baker, there it is, an apron and all the utensils they need. And we'll do one more. Which one? I like this one. Almost looks scary, but it's a magician. What would a magician need to do their job? How about a rabbit coming out of a hat? Well, boys and girls, we have really run out of time today, and we're just going to share with you a couple things before I leave. And that is, if you are looking for other activities to do, fun activities in our community, make sure, let me get it not in front of you. Look at NCTV on the community calendar, and you can find some other fun activities to do here in our community. And then also, if you want to write a letter to George and Willy's World, write it to 235 South Auburn Street in Grass Valley, and we'll read your letters on the program. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you, Mrs. Kranz and George and Willy. And boys and girls at home, listen to lots of stories, do your job, and have fun playing. And until next time, bye-bye.
And read a book.
And read a book.